What's up, dolls? Welcome back to another video. We are on a roll, okay? So today we are going to talk about why you need to stop being so nice, okay? You need to start saying no more, and you need to say how you really feel. So let's go ahead and get into today's topic. Now, before I dive into today's topic, please consider subscribing to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Become an official Delle doll so you don't miss any more of these great fun videos, sis or bro. You know, whoever is watching this on the other side. But definitely consider subscribing. And if you're an OG Delle doll, then welcome back. You already know I'm glad to see you. So let's go ahead and dive in like I said. Are you someone that struggles with saying no? Are you someone that feels like you always have to be super nice? Why does it feel like the beginning of a commercial? Nevertheless, do you struggle with saying no and saying how you really feel? Do you feel like you always have to be super nice so that maybe you earn brownie points for people or to keep the peace? Well, I'm going to share 5 tips with you as to why that's an L. You need to stop doing that immediately. Now, I will preface this and say that the tips I'm giving does not mean I'm saying go out there and be a jerk, be rude, be disrespectful. Like, I'm really big on respect. I'm really big on, you know, speaking to people with tact and things like that. But at the same time, there's a balance to everything in life. So you don't want to be a jerk and rude and disrespectful, but you also don't want to be so nice and so amicable, can I speak, to the point where you're a doormat, because that's going to make people lose respect for you. And you have to guard your own peace, your own energy, and you got to maintain the respect not only for yourself, but make sure you're carrying yourself in a way where you're communicating with people that respect is of the utmost importance to you as well. So let's go ahead and dive into the tip. So point number 1 is being overly nice all the time to everybody is unrealistic. Look, we all have good days, bad days, we have great moments, we have bad moments. So to expect yourself or anybody else for that matter to always be nice, like you never see a bad side to them at all, like they never have a bad day, it's unrealistic. You're human. There's many levels to your emotional, you know, maturity and your emotional state and all of that. Now, again, I'm not saying that that's a license to go out here and be a jerk and rude and disrespectful, but if you're always accommodating, you're always nice, you're always bending over backwards, like chances are that you are putting yourself at risk because you're going against your own boundaries. You're putting yourself last so much to the point where you're drained now, like physically, emotionally, spiritually. You have to refill your own cup. You can't be out here just always bending over backwards for every time they can hear you, because at the end of the day, like, people are going to make sure that they're good. And so, not to say you shouldn't care about people, but who's going to make sure you're good if you're always bending over backwards, if you're always pushing the envelope, if you're always going past your boundaries and the limits that you set for yourself to make sure that you're emotionally well? Like, who's gonna look out for you, sis? So don't feel like you need to be a doormat and super accommodating. It is okay to say no. It is okay to let people know, no, I'm not going to do that. Because at the end of the day, you'll be able to see if somebody truly cares about you and what they truly expect of you. Trust me, me being in business now and using social media to grow my business, people are in my DMs all the time asking for me to do stuff. And so I've never really had a problem with saying no, but when I became a mom, that definitely became easier for me. And then also when I became self-employed / an entrepreneur, it became easier, because at the end of the day, it's like, I don't have to do something for you, with you, whatever, because of you, just because you asked me to. Like, I have the right to say no. And I think that people that ask you to do something without giving you that leeway to say no or not right now, it's very selfish of them. And when I started saying no, trust me, I started seeing people's true colors, right? Like the people that really you thought would rock with you, or, you know, that saw you in a certain light, all of a sudden they're offended, or, you know, they're slandering me in the comments of, you know, my page or their page. And it's just a bunch of stuff. So saying no, not only will it keep your boundaries, because you have boundaries for a reason, but it will definitely let you see someone's true intentions and true motives and colors. Because if they get that mad that you say no, that they take offense to it, they want to cut you off, or they are slandering your name, they're throwing shade, they're throwing shots on IG, sneak dissing, all that, then you were better off saying no to begin with. Point number 2 is being overly nice, never saying no and how you really feel. It's ultimately gonna leave you broke, busted, and disgusted, okay? Like, I've seen this so much within my own family, like between my parents or aunts and uncles or just friends, or even my own life, just me doing too much, trying to be overly nice all the time, trying to be that friend all the time that you could count on, the person that people knew, oh, she'll be nice, she'll do what you ask her to do, or she'll say yes, or, you know, like no consideration for myself at all. all. What did it do? It left me broke, busted, and disgusted in the end. How many times can you think about in your own life where somebody asked you to do something, go somewhere, whatever, and you did it against your better judgment? You probably more than likely didn't even feel like doing it, but you're like, you know what? I would want someone to do the same for me, so I'm gonna go ahead and be a good person and say yes and do it for them and all this. You're doing it begrudgingly now. I can't even speak. You're doing it begrudgingly now, but you're like, I'm gonna do it anyway. And after it's all said and done, they're not even that grateful. You know, like they're probably not keeping that same energy when the tables are turned. And you're like, okay, I need help now. They don't keep that same energy. Now you're high and dry, broke, busted, disgusted, trying to figure it out on your own, you know, and now you really feel some type of way because it's like, dang, like I did for you when I didn't even feel like it. Like I went above and beyond just on the merit of like, you're my friend or you're my family member or I care about you or whatever, or I would want someone to do it for me. So now you sitting here looking confused, bewildered, hoodwinked, okay? Because you did it against your better judgment and the energy wasn't returned. And like I said, not only was it not returned, but they could even be ungrateful, like not even a thanks, no ounce of gratitude. So it's like, spare yourself being in that spot over and over again by setting some boundaries and saying no. Stop being so daggone nice. Point number 3 is suppressing what you really want to say and how you really feel keeps you bound. I was talking with a friend recently and I was telling her that she doesn't have to be passive all the time, because we were talking about, you know, how she can sometimes respond to situations and or not respond, you know, depending on what's going on. And I was like, you know, being passive is not always the best look. Honestly, it's never really the best look unless it's a situation where it's like, you know what, if I'm not passive, it's just going to create way too much drama and stress to the point where I'm not even trying to do that. But what it does is it keeps you bound, because you're bottling up your feelings, you're bottling up what you really want to say to people please and make that person feel better. And it really comes from a place of fear of how that person's going to react, fear of not being accepted, fear of not being loved. But the thing is, that person more likely than not has no problems telling you how they really feel or saying what they want to say. And so because most people that struggle with this don't like conflict. They don't like conflict. They don't want to deal with drama. They don't want to deal with BS. I mean, none of us really want to deal with drama or BS or conflict, but some of us would face it head on more so than others. And so people like this tend to be like, I'll avoid it by any means necessary. And so they'll take someone telling them how they feel in any kind of way. They'll take someone saying how they really feel or what they want to say, you know, however it comes out. And they're like, well, I just don't want the drama. And it's like, at the end of the day, you're bound because you're the one thinking about it. You're the one going through the emotional hurt of not saying it, of keeping it bottled up. You're the one that has to deal with, you know, suppressing that time and time and time again. And that person's out living their best life. So it's like, instead of being so amicable and agreeable and super, super nice and to the point where you become a doormat, say what you really feel, because they would do it to you. They have no problem doing it to you. So why aren't you doing it to them? You really have to stop and reevaluate that and say, do I have some fear attached to me suppressing my feeling? You know, did I say it in the past? Maybe I grew up in a household where I said what I really felt and I was reprimanded for that and I was disciplined for it, and it's like I had to deal with the repercussions and I didn't like that, so I just learned to keep quiet to a fault. You know, like really sit and ask yourself that. Why am I so scared to say what I really want to say? What is this person gonna do that's gonna like really put my life in a tailspin? They can't do nothing to you, so don't live in fear and just keep yourself available to say what you really want to say and how you really feel. Don't bottle it up. That's the worst thing you could do, because again, you're the one dealing with all of that trauma and hurt. Speaking of trauma, point number 4 is that being overly nice in some sources I've seen has shown to be a trauma response, or like a triggered response. So as I was like preparing for this video, I was looking at different videos on YouTube and, you know, Googling different stuff or whatever. And there are various sources that have alluded to that or have flat out said it. Like, you know, if you're being overly nice, again, like I used in the last example, it could be maybe you said what you really felt or you said what you really wanted to say in the past, and the result of that was something that wasn't favorable in your eyes. And so now you just suppress it and you go along to get along, and you say yes when you really want to say no, and you never tell people how you really feel because you don't want to hurt their feelings, because you don't want to deal with the conflict and the drama, and you'd rather just keep the peace at your own expense. And it's like, ultimately you're just making that trauma bigger. You're making that trigger bigger. You have to really address it and say, okay, this is why I do this, and this is how I'm going to alleviate this. This is how I'm going to heal from this. This is how I'm going to move past it. And like I said, if you need to get professional help on that, get professional help. I'm never against therapy. I'm never against counseling, because at the end of the day, sometimes you need a third party outside to look from the outside in and say, you know what, this is why you're doing what you're doing, or this is how you can get past this hump so that you can live a better life and thrive, and not keep suppressing and bottling things up and dealing with internal issues on your own and having those internal battles. Because at the end of the day, I know that I've done that. I've been in relationships, I've been in friendships, I've been in situations where it's like, I'm just gonna go along to get along because I don't want to be the bad guy, you know, because even though I'm pretty outspoken, I always have been, I truly am my mother's child. The bad side of that is that sometimes you get tired of always being the outspoken one. Sometimes you get tired of being the blunt one. Sometimes you get tired of saying no. Sometimes you get tired of saying how you feel. I always, like I said, say it with respect and with tact. I'm never out of pocket. Now, if you come at me out of pocket, then I might come back out of pocket. I'm just gonna be honest, you know, God ain't through with me yet. But at the same time, it's like, you know, sometimes you just don't feel like going down that path again. So it's like, okay, I'll just be amicable. I'll just go along with it. And especially if you're in a vulnerable situation like relationships, I tell women this all the time. It's like, say how you really feel, mean what you say, don't suppress stuff. You gotta come out the gate, out the jump, like this is what it is. Again, respectfully. There's a way to say it in a tone to say it in and such where it's not so like over the top or comes across a little too overbearing or whatever, but you got to say it. Don't suppress anything, especially when you're entering a vulnerable situation like that. Someone who could have so much influence over you and have access to so many areas of your life. Make sure that you're saying exactly what needs to be said and standing your ground, because the worst that this person could do, whether it's a romantic relationship, family member, friend, whatever, is be dissatisfied with the fact that you expressed how you really feel and you said no. And if they're dissatisfied with it, that's not your problem. Like that's their own issue to work out. Trust me, like I said earlier, there are times where I've said no and people have come for my neck on social media, like the sneak dissing, all of that, or just thinking like, oh, she thinks she better than me because da 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 da. Like, it's not that. You think that I think that I'm better than you. So that's your own issue to work out. I don't have to try to please you and prove a point to you. If you really got to know me and my character, you would know why I'm saying what I'm saying, and you would know that I'm not saying it out of a place of hate or malice or disrespect or anything. But people have their own baggage that they're dealing with. People have their own perceptions of things, and it's like, it's not your job to try to convince everybody that you're this great person. They either see it and get to know you or they don't. Point blank, period, sis. And my fifth and final point is that people pleasing is a false reality. At the end of the day, always being overly nice, never saying no, never really saying how you feel, it's a form of people pleasing. And I get it, like we all want the people that we love and that are near and dear to us to approve of all the things that we do. Heck, we even want people we just met to like us and approve of what we do. It's just, we're trained that way, we're socialized that way. You ever notice how blunt little kids are? Like when I look at my son, he could care less who likes him, if people approve of what he says or does. Like, kids are just so like unadulterated, and we lose that as we get older because we're told you have to fit in this space, you have to do this, you have to do that, you know, you have to be acceptable, this is what people like, you know. So we end up forming this like reality or false reality or replica of ourselves that kind of lost our childlike unadulteratedness. Is that a word? It is today. But needless to say, people pleasing is a false reality. You're never going to always please everybody in your life that you come across. I don't care if you say yes all the time. I don't care if you never say how you really feel, especially if you feel it might hurt someone's feelings. I don't care if you literally always go above and beyond for people and you just are super duper nice to the point where you bend all the way backwards. There's still going to be people that don't like the fact that you're doing something the way you're doing it, or the fact that you're doing it at all, or have some dirty, nasty things to say about you and hurtful things to say about you. So it's like, you might as well go ahead and release yourself from the idea that you have to be super nice to a fault, because no matter how you slice it or dice it, whether you do it what the majority feels you should do, or you don't do what they feel you should do, or you live your life for people, or you live your life for you, people always going to talk. They're going to say good, bad, ugly, and different things and everything in between. So people pleasing is a false reality. You're never going to please everybody. So stop thinking that you can, and stop thinking that being overly nice is going to get you brownie points with people, because it doesn't. All it does is it makes them disrespect you faster over time, because they're like, wow, like if she's doing all of this, like she clearly has no boundaries. She clearly has no standards. standards. She's desperate for attention or acceptance or whatever. So over time, they're going to lose respect for you, and they're going to show it. Trust me, I have friends close to me who I have bent over backwards for. I mean, like literally to the point where I'm doing for them when I don't even have for myself. But because of my friend, I ride hard for my friends. I have a big heart. When you're in my inner circle, when you're in my inner sphere, oh, I ride for mine. I go out in the paint. And then over time, I realized this person really doesn't respect me the way that they say they do, because they'll make little slick remarks. Or like I said in one of the earlier points, when the tables are turned and I need help, they're not keeping that same energy. They're quick to say no. They're quick to say how I'm an inconvenience or I'm this or I'm that. So it's like I spared my words, you know, and even when I told you what I had to say, I was still respectful, but you took it to another level. Like you just flat out disrespectful. You don't care. Your energy is all off. You know, it's really weird. And so, I mean, that's part of life. Friendships grow apart, relationships grow apart. People that start with you ain't always going to finish with you. It is what it is. But I'm just saying, like, if I would have known in my early 20s that some of those relationships would have ended the way they did, I wouldn't have done half of what I did to that extent. I wouldn't have literally like wore myself so thin just to prove a point. I would have definitely spared myself, set solid boundaries, said how I felt, not really care so much about how they receive it, but I would have said it respectfully, and I would have said no more, and I wouldn't have been so nice. I mean, there was a point in my life I was so nice. It was like, girl, calm down, you know? But release yourself from the need to feel like you gotta please everybody, because you really don't. So that's all I have for you for today's video. I hope that it's helpful. I hope that it empowered you to take back some of your power, take back autonomy over your life, and to not feel like you saying no or not always being the super nice girl or guy makes you a bad person. At the end of the day, everybody in life isn't gonna like you, but even if you only got a small fraction of people to like you, hey, it's all good. Like you'll probably still have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people in your corner. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Don't forget to like this video if you haven't, and I will see you on the next video or live stream. Have a good one. Bye.